And we are also live on YouTube. Welcome, everybody, to Martinis with Scott. Hopefully, some people come in and join us on the live streams. We're both on YouTube and on Instagram. Welcome to everybody. Instagram says, we're telling your followers that you've started a live video. Remember, on Instagram, if you're on replay, skip forward and the first 40. Well, you already did that. So Martinis with Scott, episode 138. This is our midday touch base. I hope everybody is well. Did you have a good last week? I took a week off. I was traveling and busy and had all sorts of things going on. I needed a little break. So yesterday I took off, had a long Easter weekend, and feel terrific. I'm excited to get back with some content here. And thank you for joining me. Welcome to Q2 of your business. If you follow us for business advice or even just life advice in general, or just for the entertainment, this is the second quarter. If you have a December 31 year end, or at least the start of another quarter, what are your objectives in your business for this quarter? You know, if you think about it, a 3-month period, so April, May, June would be Q2 if you have a calendar year end. A 3-month period is an excellent amount of time to accomplish a lot of things. You want to fire somebody and hire a new position. 3 months is a perfect amount of time to do that. You want to do a new financing for your business. 3 months is a great amount of time to do that. You want to do a deal, a transaction, an acquisition, a divestiture. It might take you longer than three months, but you can get the bulk of it done in 3 months. You want to change some things in your organization, tackle a problem, or in your life. 3 months is a good period of time to sketch that out and see where you get to. What are your objectives for Q2 of 2021? I'm going to be focusing on accounting, cash flow, internal controls, reporting. That's the stage we're at, and I'm going to be looking at a new transaction. Last week in Ontario, Canada, north of Toronto area, I started looking at a number of deals to add to our portfolio. Now that we've digested, for the most part, Novani, we have a ton of work there to do, but we've digested it. And so starting to look for more transactions. All right, what I want to talk about today is bias and how to fight your bias. And this comes from unless anybody's got anything they want to throw out in the live stream, by the way. I see that there's people listening in on YouTube. I don't think we've captured anybody on Instagram Live, but if you have topics you want to throw out, please do so. Or if you want to just say hi over on the YouTube side, please do that. I was just on a Clubhouse, which is an app that I like a lot, and we were talking, the room was about how to fight your bias. And I believe that the essence of what they were talking about was more your bias racially, your bias sexually. In other words, if you're a guy, are you prejudicing against women in the workplace or what have you? And there's a few points. I think it's an important topic, but I think it's a much broader topic than race or sexual discrimination or what have you. I think that what's important to remember, and the points that I made in the room that people seem to like, was that 3 points. But the first one is that your brain, recognize that your brain is a pattern recognition machine. That's what it is. It's not a bug, it's a feature. We don't look to facts to drive our view of things, our pattern of things. We have confirmation bias, which is pattern recognition, and then we seek facts that support our bias. We ignore facts that don't support our bias, and we skew facts so that we can rationalize them, and so that they fit within our bias. And if they don't fit within our bias, that's when we experience cognitive dissonance, which is a very uncomfortable feeling, like your brain just exploded and that nothing is making sense to you. So that is a feature, not a bug, because how could the human brain process all of the data coming at it all of the time to make real-time decisions on every single thing that you're doing, right? This live stream for me has become a bit of a routine, a bit of a pattern, which makes it easier. At first it was hard, and now it's become much easier. Picture yourself driving a car. You're on a long drive down the highway. You've been driving for hours, You have been driving for hours and you're kind of in the zone, right? Your mind is wandering. You're not paying attention too much. There's no negative influences coming at you. And so you're able to just, tune out to a certain extent and drive your car. If you're a driver, you'll know exactly that experience. Now, cars in front of you hit the brakes. There's an accident up front, or somebody cuts you off, or something happens and there's a chain reaction, a bunch of red brake lights. What do? You're literally driving like this. You jump up and you get two hands on the wheel and you start processing information and making decisions, right? That's how you snapped out of the pattern recognition and your brain said, whoop, something else is going on here. This is a pattern I don't recognize. What am I going to do about that? I need to pay particular attention. If you were on that hyper alert for your entire several hour drive, you'd be exhausted. You couldn't possibly be at that level of attention the whole time. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine, and it seeks the easy way to do as much as it can through biases. Biases are a feature, they're not a bug. So what if you don't like your bias? What if you think, by the way, that includes racial bias, that includes sexual bias, that includes bias against communities, it includes your bias as to how you run your business and your assumption about the truth of your product, of your customers, of your distribution channel. It includes every single bias. Okay, that's how your brain works. It couldn't function otherwise. Now, I have to deal with confirmation bias all the time. When I walk into a troubled company and I want to change things, if I want to change culture, if I want to change the way we do business, because by definition, we're losing. We're a troubled company. We have to change things. I have to fight that bias. How do you do that? Well, step number one for any bias is to recognize that pattern recognition, that bias is the human condition. It's not like you're a flawed person. It's not that at all. It is the human condition, and it's a feature, not a bug. And so this is the way we operate. And if you want to change it, you need to understand that this is not a flaw in you. This is how everybody operates. 100% of human beings operate that way. And then what you need to do, my point number 2, is you need to attack the habit loop. What is the habit loop? You're faced with a trigger. You get a routine, right? So you had a trigger, which causes a routine, which gives you a reward, okay? And so we talked about this. The fellow James, who was hosting this Clubhouse room, is a black fellow in Texas, originally from Michigan. And he has, from when he was growing up in a rough area, he has triggers about being pulled over by the police. And it gets his back up. He said, these are his words, not my words. It gets his back up. He gets frightened. He becomes aggressive and angry, okay? And he recognizes that as a bias. And what I suggested to him is, it is a bias, but it's the sister of a bias. It's a habit. It's a habit. So you have a trigger, I've been pulled over. And he says this happens to him to this day, even when there's no reason for this to happen whatsoever. Again, his words, not mine. I think what he meant by no reason is he's in a better neighborhood. Things are different. Hey, Anna, thanks for coming to join us on the live stream on the Instagram side. Look forward to seeing you tonight, Anna, at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Clubhouse. If you can make it, we're doing part 2 of Truth and Trust, since last week that wasn't enough. Anyways, he's in a better neighborhood. He doesn't have any cause to be concerned when he's pulled over, but he still has that habit. Trigger, that was the habit. The routine, do you get aggressive and mad about this? And the reward, well, the reward, I think, from when he was back in the rough neighborhood was, as he expressed it, survival. It was these prejudices, these biases. That's what allowed him to live in the tough times. And what you need to do to change a habit is you need to think about it. You need to recognize that it's a bias. And what you need to do is attack. You can't change the trigger. You're going to get pulled over. So you need to attack the routine. How am I going to handle this? And sit down and think about what is a different routine, and then or change the reward, or change the reward. Obviously, you want to change the routine, but you need to change the reward, and the reward needs to be, as good or better than what you were getting before. Rad, how are you, and where are you? You were probably in, I don't know, Jordan. I'm going to guess you're in Jordan. Confirm that to me. Thank you for joining the live stream and for sending me a heart, whoever did that. All right. And then my third point is to remember that all bias is a two-way street. So someone in this room brought up the idea of women in the workplace and how men talk over them, they're not respecting them. And do these men that are being referred to in this situation have a bias? Well, of course they do. We already established 100% of people have a bias. So they have a bias for good or for bad. And if they're talking over the women and not respecting them, well, then that's for bad. But the women the victim in that situation also has a bias. And you need to recognize, if that's you, you need to recognize that. Because what is your bias? A part of this situation is you allowing that to happen. And the reason you do that is the sister to all these, the sibling to all these bias conversations in the habit loop is because of insecurity, because of fear. And the only way to fight that is through positivity and micro wins and building up your confidence and being able to fight through those situations so that you don't have the bias that you're not worthy in this particular situation. Just remember, everybody has a bias. So bias is a two-way street. So how do you fight through biases? That was my list. You need to first recognize that everybody has them. They're a feature. They're not a bug. Number two is you need to understand the habit loop, which is trigger, routine, reward. You need to change, you can't change the trigger. You need to change the routine, and you need to have an equal or better reward than you used to have. And focus on positivity, focus on winning momentum. That's why Martinis with Scott is a show about winning momentum. That's all for today. I'm on my midday touch base. I hope everybody's doing great. Anybody want to throw anything out? Anna, Riyadh, whoever has not identified themselves on YouTube, if you want to talk about something, throw it out. If not, I'm going to sign off. We're on Clubhouse. Riyadh, I don't know if you're on Clubhouse yet or not, but if you have an iPhone and you want to join Clubhouse, let me know. I have some invites, and so I'll get you hooked up. And I know that people have sent in some questions to Martinis with Scott, which I missed last week. We'll start tackling those this week. Apart from that, thank you for listening, and I am going to sign off, starting with YouTube.